ever wondered, what do we do when the energy is kind of low, the focus is, and our productivity, like we're doing stuff, but it doesn't seem like we're ever getting it done? Well, I'm excited today to be here with Dr. Joe to explore this concept, to explore this question on how to power up your energy, your focus, and your productivity. And she does seem like a lady that has been productive and focus. She actually has books that she's written, and to do one takes a lot of energy and focus, but multiply that times 6. Plus, she's spoken to thousands of audiences around the world, all about that energy expertise for people. So, Doctor, super excited to have you here with us today.
Hello.
So, what do we do as we look at this question? Your energy, your focus, your product. How do you answer that? How do we deal with
All
that?
right. Well, thanks for inviting me, Tiffany. Most of the time when people think of productivity, they think they need a new tool, technique, or some kind of system to help them to become more productive. And all those are good ideas. But you know what? If that's not working, then you need to look beyond that and say, what else is going on? And my guess is your energy is waning because if you don't have that fuel to get you going, none of that stuff is going to work.
So, where do we need to start? Like, what could be some first steps for
Okay, so
us?
I've got two tips for you. And one of them is called Fuel Up. You know how you can have a really attractive car? It's clean, it's shiny, it has all the gadgets. But you know what? If you don't put any gas in the tank or you don't charge it up, that car is not going to go anywhere. And the same thing is true for the human body. If we don't have fuel in the system, things don't work well, right? I mean, most of us, we just get out of bed and we just expect it to function properly when, in fact, without fuel, things up here in our brain just don't work well. We don't have the energy, the stamina to be able to focus and concentrate, be able to be creatively, brainstorm to work well with other people. And so that's why I say fuel up. Think about the fuel that you're putting in your body. First of all, realize that we need fuel in the first place because I would say the most common issue that I see when I'm working with clients is they go all day long without any eating at all, at least significant, right? I mean, they'll have a cup of coffee, maybe a piece of toast, they'll have, a light little salad at lunch, and they wonder why at 3 o'clock in the afternoon their energy is waning. Well, they haven't fueled their body properly. So, start off with a good healthy breakfast, a good lunch as well, and you'll find probably that you won't binge so much in the evening either when you even out that fuel along the way.
It's interesting. I hear people say, well, I just didn't have time to eat. I didn't think about eating. And I'm like, how in the world do you even function in that way? To eat like
Yeah, I can.
consistently.
Well, you know what, Tiffany? Because you're attuned to energy, not just as a physical thing. We need energy for mental focus and for emotional stability. And you're probably in tune with it, or maybe you actually feel it in your stomach because a lot of people say, well, they're not hungry, but they're not listening to their whole body. So, for example, some people, they don't have that growling stomach that I have got. It is so loud, it'll wake up an entire room. But you know what? You have to kind of look and say, is my focus waning? Am I a little short tempered with people? That's a sign that your energy is waning too. So, your hunger could be felt in other ways. And so that's what that first tip is all about, is to fuel up your body, realizing that caffeine is a stimulant drug. It's not real food. It's not fuel for your body. And to fuel it during the day to keep you going at your very best. So, how are you fueling up, Tiffany?
Well, I'm drinking my green tea. And I'm big
Okay.
on making sure I always have probably a protein and a fruit for breakfast, and some protein and fruit or veggies, because if I'm not eating, then I definitely can tell it in my productivity. And it's I'm reading Limitless by Jim Quick, and he talks about how the brain actually, as a small organ of what you fuel
Yes.
yourself
Yeah.
with. So there's a little power
Yeah, and
there.
that is incredible. Yeah, we
So
know with our computer what that motherboard is. Maybe we don't know exactly what it is, but we know that runs the whole system, right? And that's what our brain is. It is only 2% of our body weight. And like you said, fifth of all the fuel that we need is for that brain. And while much of our body can run off of stored fat, because I have a lot of people say, oh, don't worry, I've got plenty of, stored fat here, I'll just burn that off. But, your brain needs glucose on a regular basis. And so that's why we need to have some fuel during the day. And it's
right.
wonderful. You also mentioned about the protein too. I think a lot of people miss that. Breakfasts tend to be very high carb with pancakes and cereal and waffles and donuts and things like that, rather than incorporating some protein in it, which gives your body that kind of stability to allow energy to be created over 4 or 5 hours a period of time. So, when you eat carbs, you feel like you have to eat every 2 hours, and that's doesn't usually fit into everybody's schedule that way.
All right. So I know you said you had 2 tips for us. So I take it tip number one is we got to make sure that we're fueling up well. What's the second tip you've got?
Right. We want to make sure we're fueling our body on a regular basis with real food, not with caffeine. Listen to your body. Eat a balanced breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the second thing is about power down. I don't know about you, but oftentimes my computer, sometimes my phone just goes on the fritz where everything freezes up and I don't know what to do. And I'm not a technician, but I found that if I shut it down and reboot it back up, there's something like magical in it. My brother, who's an electrical engineer, says it has something to do with resetting the system. Well, you know what? Sleep works the same way to reset our system. And people don't realize what an important role it is. They look at it as sleep is kind of like a waste of time. I don't have time to sleep. Or they'll say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, chances are you're going to be dead a lot sooner if you don't get adequate sleep. So we need sleep not just to make us feel good. People think, oh, I'm doing fine. I'll have another cup of coffee and I'll just be fine. Well, that stimulant drug is making you feel like you're energized, but you're not. But sleep is not just to make us feel good. It also helps us stay healthy. People don't get enough sleep, have higher blood sugar, higher blood glucose, higher blood pressure, and if you're fighting your weight, the one thing you should be looking at is how much sleep you're getting, because people don't realize that when they don't get enough sleep, it throws off all the mechanisms in your body, so you tend to eat more without even realizing it. You don't feel any hungrier. You just eat the normal amounts that you feel like you should, but you're eating more. Then, of course, if you're tired, you're not exercising as much because you don't feel like it. All of that adds up into increased weight. And then, of course, it really affects our productivity because when you're awake too long, your brain acts in a way that like as if you're impaired. In other words, you're not drunk. You haven't drunk anything, hopefully, any alcohol before you went to work. But without enough sleep, your brain functions as if it were impaired. So everything is slowed down. Your reactions, your responses, you tend to make goofy mistakes just like you would if you drank too much alcohol and got on the road. So you want to make sure that you get adequate sleep, not just hours of sleep, but also get the right types of sleep as well.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that people are so willing to give up sleep or work around not having that sleep? Like, I know a huge difference. Interesting. I don't always get the perfect amount of sleep. To me, I find that if I've got one day where maybe I didn't get as much sleep as I normally would, it's not as big of a deal. And I can bounce back pretty quickly. Now, if it was like 4 or 5 days, then you don't want to be around me at all. One day I can usually get away with because it balances out. I slept well before, and I kind of like the same with food. If you're doing good most time, one little detour won't kill you. But why do you think people don't honor or don't? I'm trying to think how to even phrase the question. Like,
they don't respect. Right. They don't respect the value of sleep. I get it. A lot of it has to do Don't you think with our upbringing, because I have a bunch of grandkids and I watch them, some parents prioritize sleep and say, oh, come on, it's 8 o'clock, we need to go to bed, because you got to get up early for school. And others, well, heck, they're watching a movie until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And maybe because they themselves struggle with, getting to sleep at a regular time, they're kind of teaching their kids that same habit. And it's difficult to break, as you know, when, kids get to be teenagers, they naturally want to stay up a little late. So if you've got those bad habits behind you, it makes it really difficult. So all I can say is you've got to teach your kids how to value sleep and even notice that they work better. They're in a much better mood when they've had adequate sleep. And you know what? The same thing holds for you. So it's not just getting the right hours of sleep. You want to make sure you get uninterrupted sleep because, it's kind of like playing Monopoly. You know how you keep on getting sent back to go and you don't get to play around the game, So it's kind of like that. When you go through these sleep cycles throughout the evening, you're going into a deeper state of sleep and then into a what we call REM sleep, where you dream, and going back to this. Well, you know what? If you wake up, you go back to zero and you have to start these cycles all over again. And it's those cycles, the lows and the highs, that are so beneficial to our body in terms of our health, in terms of our productivity. So you don't want to be interrupted. And yet, many people have a snoring spouse or a dog that they sleep with, or maybe kids share the bed. And any of those things could disrupt your sleep. And even though you spend plenty of hours in bed, it doesn't feel as restful.
Yeah, and it's never any good to spend the time invested and not get the result. So I want to thank you for being here as we're talking about how to power up your energy, focus, and productivity. You've got a book actually about this, right? You want to tell us about that and how we can find it?
I do. Yeah, Reboot, how to power up your energy, focus, and productivity. I talk not just about what we talked about here, but the way we eat, sleep, move, and think, how all of it impacts our energy level. So you can go to Amazon and pick it up.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you, Dr. Joe. Anything else that you want to add to today's conversation?
Yeah, if you have any questions, just go to my website. It's real simple, drjo.com, drjoe.com.
It's very easy. All right. So do me a favor in the comments below. Let us know, what is it that you think you might do to help power up your energy, focus, and productivity. I'm all about all work and no play makes Tiffanie a dull girl. So I want to work hard and play hard and hard as well, for sure. Definitely want to get the appropriate amount. So thanks everybody for being here with us. Happy networking, y'all.
All right. Bye.